Ah, you're almost there. Don't mess this up.
Kendrick Lamar has figured out how to dominate the internet without even showing up, and somehow, the quieter he gets, the louder everybody else becomes. No constant interviews, no daily posts, no rushing online to shut down every rumor. Yet almost every week, there's another Kendrick theory, another artist being connected to him, or another old lyric suddenly getting pulled back into the conversation. And here's the wild part. Kendrick isn't the one keeping most of these conversations alive. Other people are doing it for him. We're living in an era where celebrities share almost everything: relationships, arguments, announcements, behind-the-scenes footage, even ordinary moments that would have stayed private years ago. Kendrick has gone almost completely in the opposite direction. He once said, "I would never live my life on a computer." Years later, that line feels especially relevant to how he moves publicly, because whenever Kendrick goes quiet, the internet doesn't forget about him. It starts trying to figure out what his silence means. Is he preparing something? Is he avoiding somebody? Is another album coming? Does he secretly have an issue with another artist? Sometimes there's evidence behind the conversation. Sometimes it's simply speculation. But Kendrick rarely steps in to settle it. And that's exactly how one man's silence has somehow become one of the loudest conversations in hip-hop. Look at what happens whenever Kendrick disappears for a while. A new narrative appears. Somebody discusses his relationship with another artist. An old interview gets rediscovered. A lyric suddenly gets interpreted differently. Then social media takes over. Before long, Kendrick is trending again without actually doing anything publicly. And to be clear, hip-hop is much bigger than Kendrick Lamar and Drake. Artists like 38 Spesh, Jadakiss, Fat Joe, Killer Mike, and plenty of others continue generating conversations of their own. But mention Kendrick or Drake, and the temperature immediately changes. People start choosing sides. Old records come back into the discussion. Lyrics get dissected.
To run this 20, what is it called?
20v1. Don't act like you don't know this.
What's it called again?
20v1.
20v1.
This is gonna be a 20v1,
yeah,
nigga.
It's my second 20v1, by the way.
nigga.
For real, y'all pussies. Anyway.
Suddenly, something that may have had nothing to do with their rivalry gets pulled into it anyway. One recent comment claimed, "Yeah, I've noticed that Kendrick has been silent since Iceman dropped." Except there's a problem with that theory. Kendrick didn't suddenly go quiet because another album dropped. He's been moving like this for years. That's what makes the speculation so interesting. Every period of silence becomes something people want to decode. Is Kendrick planning a response? Is something happening behind the scenes? Is he preparing another project? Or is he simply living his life and staying offline? Without Kendrick answering, nobody can confidently know. But one of the rare times Kendrick did suddenly appear publicly had nothing to do with Drake, a rap beef, or an album rollout. He surprised a young fan who had reportedly wanted the chance to meet him by connecting with him over FaceTime.
Yeah, that's right. You won't want to turn the TV off for this one. Romel's mom tells us that he's made amazing progress since coming home from the hospital, and today he got a special surprise from Kendrick Lamar.
You know who that is? Who?
Kendrick Lamar.
Okay, say hey, he called you for your birthday.
For someone who stays this difficult to reach publicly, that's what made the moment stand out. There was no diss track attached to it, no big announcement, no attempt to turn Kendrick's private life into daily content. He simply showed up for a fan. And that tells us something important about this entire story. Kendrick isn't completely absent. He seems selective about when he chooses to be present. That difference might explain why the rare moments when he does appear can attract so much attention. Which raises a much bigger question: have celebrities become too accessible? Think about how entertainment works now. Artists have podcasts, live streams, interviews, short-form videos, behind-the-scenes footage, social media accounts, brand content, performances. Some celebrities can appear on your phone several times before lunch, and when you see somebody every single day, seeing them can stop feeling special. That wasn't always the case. Artists like Prince and Michael Jackson became enormous stars during a completely different media era. Fans didn't know what they were doing every hour. You saw them when they appeared publicly, released something, or performed. there was distance, and distance created mystery. Kendrick has somehow maintained some of that distance in a world where almost everybody has a camera in their pocket. You don't always know where he is. You don't always know what he's thinking. And most importantly, he doesn't rush to explain himself every time somebody creates a theory about him. That's where things become even more interesting, because the less information Kendrick provides, the more room there is for everybody else to fill in the blanks. We've seen that whenever his name gets connected to Drake, The Game, YG, Draco the Ruler, or another developing story. One person gives their version, another person disagrees, and fans start connecting dots.
The last few months, it's been incredible for me, you know. I dropped 3 on their head top. These guys are dropping albums. It's like hello and goodbye, you know what I'm saying? And careful with that reply, because the pen isn't dry. I'm just letting you know. That's what I'm on. By the way, let me pop it. Yes, double chrome bracelets, okay. Cartier that your grandma would wear, hello. Don't even want to say the price tag. Diamond cross on the jeans, like it's just really, I don't know how to explain it other than I'm having.
Sometimes people close to the situation eventually have to clarify what's actually happening. And Kendrick can remain completely outside the conversation. That brings us to Drake. Not because one strategy is automatically better than the other, but because Drake represents almost the opposite model of modern celebrity. Drake has remained highly visible throughout his career. New music, collaborations, appearances, freestyles, online moments, projects like 100 Gigs, and some sexy songs for you. There's usually something new for people to react to. Kendrick gives audiences far less access, yet both artists remain at the center of hip-hop conversation, and after their highly publicized rivalry, those two worlds became even harder for fans to separate. Drake can do something completely unrelated to Kendrick, and parts of the internet will still connect it back to the beef.
I appreciate all the love. I appreciate the last few months. It's been incredible for me, you know. I dropped 3 on their head top. These guys are dropping albums. It's like hello and goodbye, you know what I'm saying? And careful with that reply, because the pen isn't dry. I'm just letting you know.
Kendrick can say absolutely nothing, and people may interpret the silence as a response to Drake. At that point, something important happens. The artists aren't controlling the entire conversation anymore. The audience is. And this is where Kendrick has another advantage that has nothing to do with social media. His catalog gives people something to revisit. Section 80, Good Kid, MAAD City, To Pimp a Butterfly, Untitled, Unmastered, Damn, Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, GNX. Those records don't disappear just because Kendrick isn't posting. Listeners go back. They find details they missed. Old lyrics suddenly sound different because the world around them has changed. A line written years ago can unexpectedly become relevant to a completely new conversation. And because Kendrick doesn't constantly explain exactly what every lyric means, listeners have room to interpret the music themselves. That's a huge part of what keeps the conversation moving. An older record can suddenly feel new again without Kendrick recording a single additional word. And if you listen closely, Kendrick has been telling people for years that he values that distance. I would never live my life on a computer. That doesn't prove every disappearance is some carefully designed strategy. We don't know that. But it does show that staying away from constant online visibility isn't exactly new behavior for him. And here's where the entire thing almost becomes backwards. Kendrick is succeeding at something the modern internet tells artists not to do. The standard advice today is simple. Stay active, keep posting, feed the algorithm, give people something new. Don't disappear because somebody else will take your place. For most artists and creators, that logic makes perfect sense, but Kendrick seems to operate outside of it. While everybody else competes for attention every day, fan pages, media outlets, commentators, and other artists can keep his name circulating without Kendrick personally contributing to the cycle. That doesn't mean Kendrick secretly planned every conversation. Far from it. The interesting part is that he doesn't need to. His absence creates an empty space, and the internet keeps filling it. That's what makes the comparison with Drake fascinating. Drake's visibility gives audiences a constant stream of material to discuss. Kendrick's scarcity creates anticipation. One gives people something new to react to, the other leaves people wondering when they'll get something new. Different approaches, same result, attention. But Kendrick's approach creates one especially strange side effect. When somebody rarely explains themselves publicly, rumors can survive much longer. One person says Kendrick is quiet because of Drake. Another says he's working on an album. Somebody connects his silence to the game. Another theory appears the next day.
And the last pillar is battling. We love the excitement, and I love the sparring and the music you get. But in this day and age, people that like Kendrick hate Drake.
Woke up looking for the broccoli. High key, keep a horn on me. That come my seat. IP ownership, the blueprint is by me. Mr. Get Off, I get off at my feet.
It's too far.
Yeah.
It's like bringing people kids in it.
And unless Kendrick decides to respond, the internet can keep arguing without ever getting a definitive answer. That's why silence itself shouldn't be treated as proof. Kendrick being quiet doesn't automatically confirm any theory about what he's thinking or doing. Sometimes silence is simply silence. The story is what everybody else does with it. And that brings us to what could happen next. Because eventually, Kendrick will probably surface again. Maybe it's another rare appearance. Maybe it's a feature. Maybe it's another album. And if that happens, the reaction could be enormous for one simple reason. People don't know exactly when they're getting Kendrick again. That scarcity creates anticipation before the music even starts. And after GNX, there's another question waiting. Where does Kendrick go musically from here? Does he continue with some of the more immediate energy heard on that project? Does he return to a heavily conceptual album? Does he address any of the narratives that have followed him? Or does he ignore everything and take the music somewhere nobody expects? That's the hook Kendrick's silence creates naturally. Nobody knows. And in modern entertainment, not knowing has become surprisingly rare. We're surrounded by instant reactions, oversharing, misinformation, AI-generated content, endless updates, and celebrities who can respond to a controversy within minutes. And Kendrick frequently leaves that response blank. And somehow, the blank space becomes its own headline. Which brings us back to the question we started with. Maybe asking, why is Kendrick so quiet, is the wrong question. He's been quiet. We've seen this pattern before. The more interesting question is, why does everybody else get louder when Kendrick says nothing? Because right now, people can debate his relationships, dissect his lyrics, connect him to other artists, predict his next album, and build entire narratives around what he might be thinking. And Kendrick doesn't have to confirm any of it. That's an unusual position for a superstar in 2026. He can be absent from the room and somehow still become the biggest conversation inside it. Whether that's deliberate strategy, personality, or simply Kendrick choosing to keep his private life private is something only Kendrick can answer. Until he does, people will keep trying to fill in those blanks, and maybe that's exactly why the mystery refuses to disappear. Now I want to know what you think. Does Kendrick's privacy make people more interested in him, or has the internet simply become obsessed with finding meaning whenever a major celebrity stays quiet? And could other artists create the same level of anticipation by becoming less accessible? Or does this only work because Kendrick has already built the career and catalog behind it? Drop your opinion in the comments below. If you enjoyed this breakdown, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with another hip-hop fan. Turn on notifications so you don't miss the next story, and I'll see you in the next one.